up, YouTube? This is Dan the Fix-It Man. Got another quick video here for you. I'm going to show you how to change your rear brake pads and your rear brake rotors on a 2014 Mini Cooper. I did the front brakes on this already and I did a video. I just wanted to point out real quick, this is the 5-lug model. I'm having some conflicting issues with the parts and the parts looking up at most of my local auto parts stores. So we did the other side already of the rear, and the brake pads were incorrect. The ones that we got that were able to match up with these ones were from a 2015. So of course I thought maybe we had the year wrong, but I looked at on the VIN and the manufacture date, and it's March 2014. So I would think that that's a 2014. Also, the manual, or the owner's manual in the glove box on this car, says 2014. We could not find the correct listing for the brake pad wear sensor right here. Had the same issue with the front. The front one was not lining up, and we went back and were able to look up, and for a 2015 it looks like it is the correct one. So that would kind of tell me, okay, we've got a 2015 here, although the manufacture date and the owner's manual, and I also did a VIN decoder or a VIN lookup, and it says that this is the model 2014. Just kind of wanted to give you that quick little heads up in case you run into something like this, or if you've got a 2014 and it doesn't look the same, that might be why. Maybe this is more of a 2015 model. So pads were from 2015. The rotors, though, did match up for 2014, but again, maybe 2014 and 15 used the same style rotor. So again, all that to say, make sure that you get your correct parts and look everything up before you get started. So because of this, we don't have the wear sensor, or the correct wear sensor, which I would normally be replacing. This one, I don't think it's made contact with the rotor yet, so we can reuse that safely. On the front, we did go ahead and order a new replacement, so I'm gonna, when that comes in, I'll swap that out. But let's get started here. I'm just gonna take off these two caliper slide pin bolts, and they're a 14 millimeter here in the back. And I'm also using a 17 millimeter open end to hold this slide pin from spinning. That's what those look like right there. Now right here is where our wear sensor connects. It's right behind this little cover, and that's a 10 millimeter. It's like a little plastic nut or plastic cover. Just going to take that off so we can peel this back and expose this connector right here. It just kind of clips into this plastic case right here, and then it's just a little press tab right there, and we can take that off. So again, I can already tell you right now, this is not the same as the parts that we were sent or that we ordered, thinking that this was a 2014. This is probably the same for that. Just like the front, this is probably a 2015. That's where we ran into an issue here. So we may have to order one of these too if it did start to wear. But I'm going to just try to carefully remove this out of all these little clips. And then over here you can see this little cap for the bleeder screw. Kind of holds that sensor in place. So just carefully take that out, and then we may be able to reuse this. Now we can just pull the caliper off. Just going to pull that sensor wire all the way through and set it out of the way. Now because the parking brake is also connected to this, we'll just kind of let that hang. It's really not putting any pressure on the brake line there. You can pull out the old brake pads. Careful with this one here. And I'm just curious to see if it's making contact on that wear sensor. And it is, so we will need to order a new one of these too. Since we would have to order it though, I'm just going to put it back together with this in there for now. Now the bolts that hold on the caliper bracket right here, there's two of them, and they are a reverse Torx bit like this. It's like looks like a Torx bit, but the opposite. This is a E14, and we can loosen and remove both of them. That's what those guys look like. It's a good idea to have one hand on this support bracket when you take off these bolts so it doesn't drop. There we go. Now the rotor is held in place by this little Allen head bolt. I'm just going to try to loosen that. It's a number 6 or 6mm. That's what that little guy looks like. Now, sometimes these rotors will come right off, but sometimes you need to give it a little persuasion here with the Rotor Remover 9000. It's also called a Tanya Harding. There we go. Now, if you got a lot of rust built up on the hub, it's a good idea to clean that off too. I'm just going to use this little wire wheel with the drill. Just put some protection over your eyes before you do this. Mostly just concerned about this little area right here where the rotor sits. When you get the new rotor, just make sure that you clean it off before putting it on. I'm just going to spray it with a little bit of this brake clean. And we'll just wipe that off. It's like a oil or something that these are packed in. See, we can get some of that junk off of there. Whatever they put on there just kind of keeps it from rusting. And then we'll just kind of pay attention to where that hole is for this little Allen bolt. Now I did find a torque spec for that, 19 foot-pounds, which really isn't much, but it's just kind of enough to make it snug. Now this pad set did come with the new replacement hardware here, so we're just gonna pop these old ones out. And we'll get that all cleaned up. Just use that same wire brush here. Then we can grab the new clips here. They just snap in place. Just line those up and press them in. Just make sure that those are seated flush. And then we're going to pull out the slide pins here. Just grab those, pull them out, and just going to give them a quick wipe down. And then we're going to put a little bit of this grease on here. Just that, this is a little bit of Sil Glide. It's like a silicone based grease that's great for slide pins. Really doesn't take much, about like that. And then we can put that back in. Just make sure that it still spins freely. And then we'll pull out the other one. That's all dirty. Same thing, just wipe these off. Get as much of that gunk off there as we can. And I'll just use the same grease right here. Just kind of use that clean spot on the back of my glove to wipe that grease. There we go. That feels pretty smooth, and this is ready to go back on. Just kind of push that caliper back out of the way. Get these lined up. Same with that one. Now the torque spec on these caliper bracket bolts, I found something for an older Mini or a different style that has a bolt on there that was 48 foot-pounds. So that's probably all I'm going to do, which might be a little light, but if you guys know what this is supposed to be, or you get a chance to look that up, let me know. So this is the torque wrench that I'm using. This is the Gear Wrench 85062. I like it a lot better than most of the other ones I was using, so I do recommend that. I'll get a link to that in the description for you. Alright, now before we put the new pads in, just a little dab of this Sil Glide on the back of each pad, and a little bit at each end. And we'll just slide that into place. Same with the outside pad here. A little bit at each end. I just like to put a little bit of this Sil Glide here on each of these little channels right here too. I guess I didn't show you on the inside there, but that just kind of makes sure that this pad doesn't get bound up in there. Now we need to push the caliper piston back in. So you see I've got this tool right here. This is what I'm using to press the caliper piston back in. This is the number 7 in the tool that I have. You just need to find one of these little discs right here that corresponds to or lines up with the little grooves in the face of your caliper piston. And in this case, this one is what will work. So we just gotta put the tool in like this and get it lined up. And then we just need to twist this clockwise. Now before you do this, it's a good idea to pop the hood and take a look at the master cylinder to make sure that you've got room in there to push the brake fluid backwards through the system up into that master cylinder reservoir, which I've already done, and I'm going to just cut to that real quick. I'll show you how to get to that master cylinder and what it looks like. Now the master cylinder is underneath this plastic cover right here, and we just need to pull this off to get to that. And it's fairly simple to do. Just grab a 10mm socket here, pull off this little plastic nut. It just goes over this little stud. We'll set that aside. And then the rest is with a flathead screwdriver. Just turn all of these to the left. 1, 2, 3, and then this one here in front, 4. And then this should just lift out of here. It's got this little vent that's connected down below, and it looks like we've got a metal clip on here too that just holds this together. Just pull that off, set it over there, and that's it. And here's our master cylinder. You can take this cap off if you need to take a peek inside there and see how much fluid is left, or how high the fluid is. Ours is still quite a ways down. I try not to take these caps off too often if it's not necessary, or if you can see on the side. I've just read it somewhere that you should not expose brake fluid to the air because it can cause it to degrade and go bad. So there's enough room in here for me to push the caliper piston back in without overflowing this or creating a mess. If this was already very full, or if someone had been filling the brake fluid or topping this off as the pads wear down, then the likelihood of this spilling and overflowing would be much greater. Okay, so you can see we've got enough room still got enough room in there to turn this back in. Just kind of give it a turn or two, and then just continually turn this right here to maintain pressure on that. There we go. And then you can just back this off, set that tool aside. Okay, now you can see the rubber boot here kind of got a little bound up in there. Sometimes they don't always go all the way back in. I'm just pushing that in, making sure that that's clean. And this is now ready to go back over those pads. Line that up, and then get our slide pin bolts started over here. I'm going to torque these to 25 foot-pounds. You can double check your manual. Like I said, I'm not 100% on that torque setting or the year or anything on this right now, so we'll just get it at least tightened down to that. That should be fine. Okay, now again on our wear sensor here, we're just gonna put this one back in, unfortunately. So I'm just gonna clip this back in where it was. There we go. And then just kind of hold this piece back, put it around the shock, and plug it in over here till it clicks, and just press that in place. It's got a little clip right there, the plastic clip, and over there. And then we can put this little cover back on. It's a little stud right there with this little plastic 10mm nut that holds that on. So again, we're just reinstalling this guy right here, so just line that up and press that in, that little slot or groove at the end of the pad. And again, I'm going to be changing it out anyways, but Just throwing that old one on there, so our light may not kick back off, and then just put this little rubber cover right there. And you're done. Just remember to step on the brake pedal a few times just to make that this caliper piston come back out and press those pads up against the rotor where they need to be. Now don't step on the brake pedal all the way to the floor. That can damage the seals in your master cylinder. Just press on it a few times until it feels firm, and then go ahead and double check the master cylinder fluid level, or top that off as necessary. So after you top off the master cylinder, we can grab this piece and just put it right back down where it was. And it just kind of fits in like that. And then just kind of right here, this vent, just kind of guide that in place. Like that. And then we can put this little plastic nut back on there. Remember, we've got this little metal clip. I'll peel this down so you can see. That just kind of clips right there and holds those two pieces together. And then just make sure that this is lined up, pushed all the way through, and then turn these a quarter of a turn. And the last one right here. Now on your vehicle, just like I said, since I'm not positive on the year or the specs on this one, go ahead and double check your manual on that. But what I did was 48 on these caliper bolts, the larger ones, 25 here, and then 19 on this Allen head bolt on the hub. But that's pretty much everything. Hope you liked the video. Please give it a thumbs up and subscribe if you don't mind. That does help me out. I'll get a link for you in the description with some of the parts and tools used in the video as well. Thanks so much for watching, and good luck.